Namaskara, dear viewers. Amidst the celebratory spirit of Noopura Bhramari's Vimshati Utsava, the 20th year commemoration, you are most warmly welcome to Bharatāntaraṅga, a discourse series on art of Indian thought curated and organized by our institution. I am Dr. Manorama BN, Principal and Director of the Noopura Bhramari Eye Care Center. Thus far, Bharatantaranga has evolved into a deeply engaging and enriching process of Shastric churning, sustained and strengthened by your responses, blessings, questions and unwavering support. In the second phase, the journey moved from the domain of Shastra into the lived structures of practice, systems and policy frameworks of the practical world. Through this second phase, let us understand the practical dimension of the Shastric reflections contemplated so far through the artist of each representative discipline themselves and observe the inherent harmony among these fields. As part of this edition, we have selected some of the rare and precious gems of the artistic world. In this episode, we are honored to engage in conversation with an extraordinary artist,
multilingual scholar, poet, and our beloved mentor, Padma Bhūṣaṇa Śatāvadhāni Dr. R.Ganesh.
Shatavadhani Dr. R.Ganesh is the only Shatavadhani in Karnataka, a polyglot, an author in Sanskrit and Kannada, an extempore poet in multiple languages. Thus, he is credited with reviving the art of Avadhana in Kannada. He is also credited with introducing Chitrakavya tradition in Avadhana, previously considered as most impossible thing in Avadhana. He has performed more than 1,000 Avadhanas in Kannada and Sanskrit, Telugu, Prakrit languages. He is known for his extempore spontaneous composition of poetry during the Avadhana performances and also of Chitrakavya. He has even set a record by composing poetry for 24 hours continuously. He has also performed the first ever Śatāvadhāna purely in Kannada in the year 2012. Also, in Bangalore, he performed his 1000th Avadhana with great success. Today, we are happy and grateful to have him with us and share his valuable inputs, views, experiences about the Avadhana tradition. Here is Avadhani. Namaste. Welcome, sir.
Namaskara.
Namaste. Please give a brief picture on Avadhana tradition and its origin, sir.
In Indian tradition, perhaps any art or any system of philosophy or any Shastra or any way of life, it has its origin in the Vedas. And so the very art Avadhana finds its origin in the Vedas. Now coming to the word itself, Avadhana. Dhana means placing. Ava is the prefix. It totally means well placed and well placing, rather well focused, concentration and well performing. In that sense, Avadhana is an art of focusing. In the Vedas themselves, we have 8 systems of reciting the Vedas. Ashta Vikriti. Pada, Krama, Jata, Ghana, Ratha, Danda, Dhvaja, Mala, like that we have. So, when the Vedas are recited in the 8-folded way, very much of focus and attention is needed, lot of concentration is needed. And so, the people who used to recite Vedas in this order, they came to be known as Vedavadhanis. And later, it was secularized. In our tradition, there is nothing like the so-called religious and the secular. This wrong modern connotation compels even people like us to go for such words. And so, our art is essentially spiritual and our culture is essentially spiritual. And spirituality is always very well rooted in secularism and also in religious practices. No two things are different in that respect. And so, Avadhana, it came from the Vedic lore to the common parlance in the sutras of Vatsyayana dealing with Kama, that is Kama Sutras of Vatsyayana. It should never be limited or constrained to a text like erotics, a text on erotics. It is much more than that. Kama is totally enjoyment, entertainment and cultural way of living. And there one section by name Nagaraka Vrittanta is seen in Kama Sutra. In Nagaraka Vrittanta, one section is devoted to the well-known 64 arts, Chatushashti Kalaha. In that we have several elements connected to Avadhana. One is Dharana Matrika, the concentration aspect, the aspect of memory, and then another is Kriya Kalpa, it is the aesthetics of poetry, and then Samasya Purana, one among the elements of Avadhana, and then Manasi, Sampatya, Mlechita Vikalpa, Durvachaka Yoga. Like that we have more than 8 to 10 elements of Kama Sutras, Chatushashti Kalaha, directly connected to Avadhana. So, in cultural group, when people started interacting, then they used to have all these things. Vatsyayana clearly says a cultured person should be well exposed to music, dance, painting, poetry, and witty but not hurting conversation. He should be an engaging conversationist, like that. Into that we have the system, the elements of Avadhana. And yet another thing is about the self-proclamation or self-esteem being presented in an artistic way in the royal courts. Avadhana is literally a poetic sport. It is a Kavya Krida, Kala Krida. It is a sport in the medium of art. And hence, such things have a lot of respect and they will fetch a lot of rewards in the courts, where poetry is something like an extempore and it is presented according to the challenges which are then and there given. And Ashukavitva means spontaneous versification or instantaneous poetry or poetry in extempore. All these things crystallize the art of Avadhana. And then Sanskrit is the language in which this art first flourished. And then it passed on to all other regional languages. Perhaps when we look into the history of it, we find the oldest references to Avadhana apart from Sanskrit we have in Kannada, and then in Telugu, Tamil, Bengali, Hindi, like that in many languages, but in this order we find.
Wow, sir, it is fantastic. I have heard some other kinds of avadhanas too exist. Even you have invented some Chitravadhana or Gitavadhana, like that. So please, can you throw some light upon all those things?
Here I told just about the origin and the expansion of Avadhana. We have many systems of Avadhana: Sahityavadhana, Sangeetavadhana or Geetavadhana, Chitravadhana, which I myself have developed, and Nrityavadhana, Natyavadhana, Vedavadhana, and then Shatakalashavadhana. In Andhra Pradesh, there are even more like Dhvanyanukaranavadhana, based on mimicry, something like that. All these things, they focus on two aspects. One is meeting the tasks, that is completion of the tasks, and the other one is focused attention and following that. And then ultimately the third one is leading to the entertainment value, the Sabharanjana. So totally there are three steps. One is Purana, meeting the tasks. Then Dharana, focusing and following the track intact. And the last one is Sabharanjana. That means it should be an art, it should be a total entertainment. So these are the three steps involved in Avadhana. Mine is essentially Sahityavadhana, the most popular and most well developed, and it is very exhaustive too. And lot of sophistication has been developed in this realm of Sahityavadhana itself. There we have several categories. Simplest or the most basic is Ashtavadhana, and then Śatāvadhāni and Sahasravadhāna. Like that, our poet from South Canara, Ratnakaravarni, he mentions about Lakshavadhana also. But poetic avadhanas are generally of Ashta, Shata and Sahasra. There is something like Dashavadhana, Dwadashavadhana, like that. The number is immaterial. But the most basic structure is Ashtavadhana. It extends for 3 hours, Shatavadhana for 3 days, and Sahasravadhana for 30 days, like that. But the basic structure is one and the same. It's just the multiplication. And here, classical language is used, sophisticated classical rules are meant for, and then versification is done accordingly. And all the verses have to follow the strict rules of grammar, poetics, aesthetics, prosody, and all these things. And following all that, Avadhani, a performer who performs Avadhana should meet the task and then entertain the audience, should never lose the track. And this is so for 3 hours or 3 days or whatever, he has to entertain and enthrall the rasikas in such a way that they should get both entertainment and education. It's an elevated way of entertainment, that's all.
What do you prefer, sir? Ashtavadhana, Śatāvadhāni, Sahasravadhana, which is best one for you?
My preference is always for Ashtavadhana. For the simple reason, it is complete and compact. In one session it goes. It is something like 2020 cricket match. And Śatāvadhāna is something like one day international. And Sahasravadhana is like a test match. And here, any art should be complete in itself. A rasika, in one glance, in one grasp, in one sitting, should enjoy. In that sense, I still feel the most basic is the most attractive also. I remember one statement of Alfred Hitchcock, the renowned filmmaker and director of thriller films, horror and suspense films. What should be the length of a feature film? There he says, how much your bladder can sustain. It means one sitting, 3 hours or so. And even Bharata's Natya Shastra, it makes a dictum, Yama matram bhaven natyam. A yama is not more than 3 to 4 hours. Within that span, one performance, one presentation, stage performance should be completed. In that sense, Ashtavadhana is the best. And all the excellence, all the prowess and all the proficiency of an Avadhani can be revealed in Ashtavadhana itself. It's only multiplied by 10 times or 12 times or 100 times in other Avadhanas. But basically Ashtavadhana, it's wholesome entertainer. And it is an art, it's a sport, and not more than that. Any amount of profound versification, anything may come in Ashtavadhana or whatever. But ultimately, it is that entertainment and education. So I prefer Ashtavadhana, but I am not averse to other systems.
Sir, how did you develop passion towards this unique art form?
Very interesting question. Since my childhood, I had passion for poetry and other arts. And so, unless a person is a poet, unless a person is for versification, he cannot become Sahityavadhani. So, the raw material, the basic ingredient of Sahityavadhana, of course, is passion for literature, both appreciation and production of it. Since my childhood, I had developed that. And unknowingly, I equipped myself in this direction. If I had come across any Avadhana, real Avadhana, full-fledged Avadhana being performed in front of me, I would have become an Avadhani by my 15th or 16th year itself. Because I didn't got an opportunity to watch that. And I didn't even had any books which could guide it. Because it is very hard to read from the books and know. And even by that time, when I started Avadhana, no one complete book was presented or produced. In 1981, in the month of May, perhaps 25th or so, I performed my first Avadhana. Before that, one day before that, one person by name Medavaram Mallikarjun Sharma from Andhra Pradesh had come to Bengaluru and he presented his Sanskrita Ashtavadhana, first Sanskrita Avadhana of him also in Bengaluru, in Sanskrita College of Bengaluru. Having watched that, then and there, when I was sitting in the audience gallery, I started composing the verses on my own for all the challenges which he was facing. And I came to know at the end of the Avadhana, I can perform this. Before that itself, so many elements of Avadhana, Samasya Purna, Dattapadiya, Rashukavitva, Kavyavachana, I was some way through it. And then I showed my versification to one great scholar and my guru, Vidwan Ranganath Sharma, Mahapadhyaya Ranganath Sharma, who was also one among the Pritchakas, the persons who questioned the Avadhani and challenged the Avadhani. He said, it's very nice. And the very next day, with his blessings, I could perform an Avadhana amidst the friends. And for 5 or 6 Avadhanas, it went like that. And then in 1987, after a gap of 5 years, I performed to a big gathering. Thousands of people, they watched my Avadhana in Kolar. That's how it started. I thought that appreciation of any art means imbibing that, inculcating that, practicing it. The best form of appreciation lies in imitating first and then enliving it. That is the highest thing. Appreciation of classical poetry. The classical poetry is living in the present tense itself. Those people, those great poets, they existed then and there, all these things. It's a bygone thing. So I wanted to make something which is practical and contemporary. For that, I used to request other scholars, why can't you perform Śatāvadhāni? Why can't you do something? This is a great art. No people showed interest in that. Let me do myself. That's how I started. Even today I do that. Even today I instigate and encourage and even compel my younger friends to perform Avadhana. It has become almost an addiction.
Sir, it's always a surprising one for me. How do you make different things possible simultaneously?
People have some fanciful notion regarding this, but at least Avadhāni should reveal the reality. That's what I feel. Focusing on 8 places or in 10 places or 100 and 1000 and all, it's very, very superficial. Basically, focusing happens at once at one place itself. Even modern psychology too says, no two things can occupy the same place at the same time. And this is the reality, both physical and psychological reality. But we'll be switching over from different things very soon, very fast. So switching over happens, 2 tracks will be there. One is serious and the other one is light. The lighter one will be routine in nature and serious one is specialized and focused. For example, all of us we do. You being a mother of a child would be engaged in knitting a sweater, or me myself preparing some dish, cooking. While performing that act, while cooking, I may be listening to music, I may be talking to somebody over phone, and even then preparing the dosa or something like that. This always happens. 2 ways of shifting focus from serious to light and vice versa, that is there. In Avadhana also, each task will be met one after the other. So they are consecutive. But we have to reassume them after every round. Avadhana happens in 4 rounds. Ultimately, there are 2 tracks, serious and light I told. Each one will be addressed in succession, one after the other in a sequence. And so, in an Śatāvadhāna, Nishedhakshara, Samasya, Dattapadi, in my performances I have Chitra Kavitva, and the others will have something like Nyastyakshari or Varnana, and then Ashukavitva, the 5th one, and Kavyavachana or Purana Patanam, and then Aprastuta Prasanga, and Ghantavadana. I will be having Sankhya Bandha, something like that, and some people will have Vyastyakshari. There are so many elements, but one after the other they will be coming. And at random Aprastuta Prasanga, Sankhya Bandha, Ghanta Ganana or Vyastakshari, they may go on. But we immediately switch over to that and come back. This fast switching over, that would make the people believe that it is all happening simultaneously. But it is not simultaneously, it is not concurrent, it is consequential. One after the other, in a sequence it is going on. But the Avadhani should never lose track of what is going on. One after the other, and he should reassume. Avadhana happens in 4 rounds. A poem has 4 lines, Padyam Chatushpadi. And so one after the other, each and every round should meet with the completion of 1 line of a poem. There are 8 such poems which have to be completed, and in one section called Ashukavitva, in every round 1 complete verse has to be composed and then and there presented. Without the help of paper and pen, of course, Avadhani will not be given any writing material, and no syllabus will be given as such, no prayer preparation as such will be there. In that sense, apurva siddhata, no purva siddhata is needed for that. But the whole life is siddhata. It's a spontaneous art, very unique of Indian culture. And hence, when it is going on, after every line, every round, he has to reassume the whole poem, come back to that, and without any break, in a seamless fashion, in an unalloyed fashion, the thing should go on, and thus it needs a lot of concentration. So it is not parallel processing, it is sequential processing, but with very fast changes, alternative, intermittent changes that's going on, switching over, going on. And this will become easier when versification and spontaneous wit, entertaining people with lot of confidence and self-confidence without becoming arrogance, and a compassionate outlook for life. All these things will come in the way of rich Avadhana.
Okay, then it means Avadhana is not only an art, it is a life art.
Yes,
It is
of course.
applicable for day-to-day life also.
In reality, in Avadhana, no such syllabus or any such thing is prescribed. And so whatever the prachaka, prachati, prashnam prachati, pracham va prachati iti prachaka, like that, the etymology. He who questions is prachaka or prachaka. Whatever he questions, on that versification has to be done. Whatever he recites from that text, I have to refer, I have to quote that. Such things will all be happening. Avadhani will be having little choice. Our life is that. We have little choice, accept whatever has come and do whatever best is possible. And even the so-called best has to be done within a short span of time. Not much of time or space is left for us. So the situations are not in our control, and yet we have to take the situation under our control. And while doing all that, we should entertain. We are answerable to our prakshakas, our connoisseurs. So connoisseurs should be entertained. And the scholars who have come as prakshakas, they are very great scholars. They have to be satisfied. And above all, I should not lose myself. And by doing so, me too should get satisfaction. This way, self-satisfaction, satisfying others, and also answering the answerable. This always happens. Customer satisfaction, boss satisfaction, and self-satisfaction. This is how it goes. And hence, it is not a mere concentration. It's more than that. At the same time, more than memory, memory is of course very much needed. Presence of mind, calmness of mind, and then lateral thinking, oblique way of thinking, and out of box thinking. These are all very important.
What is a very interesting element in Avadhana, sir? Is it a prastuta prasanga?
Of course, that is. But personally, I like Samasya Purana and Ashukavitva. These are the two important things. Samasya Purana means a poem's one line, whether it is last or first or any such line, will be given. But that line will be redundant in nature. It may not have any meaning. It may have some redundant meaning. It may have some obscene meaning or vulgar meaning, something of that. Ashlilartha or anartha, no meaning, or durartha, wrong meaning, such things. The task of the Avadhani is to supplement that with his own 3 lines, to make it a complete poem of 4 lines, in such a way that the apparent ashlilartha, that is the foul meaning or the vulgar meaning, or anartha, wrong meaning, or apartha, its erroneous meaning, should be wiped off. To give it one simple example, I can say this much. Vatsaret Vekada Gauri Pativaktram Napashyati. This was the samasya given to the very famous Avadhani, Vasishta Ganapati Muni in Navadvipa before 120 years or so. Once in a year, Parvati will not look at her husband. She is not like today's women. She is very much lovable wife, and her husband is also very much loving and endearing. So every day she will look into, and more than that, half of her body is her husband himself. In that case, why she will refrain from looking into his face, looking at him? This is the redundant thing which has been presented there. Vatsaret Vekada Gauri Pativaktram Napashyati. Then Vasishta Ganapati Muni immediately gave the answer by completing the other 2 lines. Chaturthyam Bhadra Shuklasya Chandra Darshana Shankaya. On the 4th day of Bhadrapada month, according to the Hindu calendar, she will not look at the face of her husband. Because according to our mythology, Bhadrapada Chaturthi is Varasiddhi Vinayaka Vrata, the festival of Ganesha. On that day, none should look at the crescent moon, because that will bring bad name and ill fame, apavada. They will be suspected for no reason. So the wrath of the world will fall on them. And Ganesha is her beloved son, and he had cursed moon, because moon laughed at Ganesha, and hence that curse went. And Parvati, to keep her son in good humor, she will never look at her husband, who is Chandrasekhara, who has the crescent moon on his matted locks. And hence, Chandrasekhara himself will not be seen. Because if she looks at her husband, the moon's face will also be seen. And so, she will be incurring that sin. And she will be disobeying sun's curse, which she would never like to. In that way, a very witty and enjoyable answer will be given. Once in my Avadhana, Śatāvadhānam, one line was given. Gulu guggulu guggulu. Just one meaningless sound itself being versified. Gulu guggulu guggulu. Long ago, the same samasya was given by Bhojaraja to Kalidasa. He completed that. Jambu phalani pakvani patanti vimale jale kapi kampita shakhabhyo gulu guggulu guggulu. In a forest, a beautiful lake was present. Next to it was a tree, jambu tree. And one mischievous monkey was shaking the branches of that tree, and ripe fruits of jambu, they started falling into the lake, making the sound gulu gulu gulu. This was the solution of Kalidasa. The same question was posed to me in my Śatāvadhānam in 1991. Then I had to compose something different. Then Bengaluru pure nityam jala bhavabhi bhadite ravakkadapi nale syat gulu gulu gulu. Bangalore is known for water scarcity. Somewhere at some time, the sound just gulu 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 emerges from our taps and no water. This way of oblique thinking or out of box thinking, what is very much important from today's management or life skills or whatever, that is present in Samasya Purna. You have to think something else, some other different situation. This is out of box thinking. And this is how our perspective to life itself has to be changed. Instead of complaining the life, instead of complaining the situation, we have to think in some other way. Our perspective, our orientation, if it is changed, then everything else to an extent would become comfortable and conducive to us. This is an approach. And Ashu Kavita is very passion of mine. Spontaneous versification on any topic, anything, everything. These are the two things which I like very much. And of course, Aprastuta Prasanga, witty words being exchanged and laughing at one's own self. In Avadhana, constantly Avadhāni will be disturbed to derail his track, to derail him from the track of focusing, versification. Constantly a person will be there, Aprastuta Prasangi, a scholar but witty man, will be pulling him, drawing him to worldly conversations, entertaining conversations. He has to entertain them and again come back to the track. That's how it goes. Here, this Aprastuta Prasanga has two dimensions of humor. One is laughing at others and mocking at one's own self. This is in the Bharata's Natya Shastra. Parastha asa, looking at others and laughing, and Atmastha, looking at one's own self and making one's own self as an object of humor. I like both. But the second one, laughing at my own self, is very much liked by me. And these three things very much impressive in Avadhana. That's what I feel.
Sir, can you share a challenging experience of yours, Avadhana's life?
It's very difficult to say. Something like more than 1050 or so Avadhanas I have performed, including the Shatavadhanas, Dashavadhanas, and many more. Every Avadhanam is a challenge. But this much can be said, when the people are not of taste, when the connoisseurs are not of real taste, that's the most difficult thing, to convince the inconvincible. And the other one is about the Pritchakas, or the people who come as questioners. Very great scholars they may be, but if they are not having that rasikata, or the taste for poetry, or the accommodation for Avadhana, then it becomes very, very difficult. Some great scholars are there, profound scholars, but they lack taste for poetry. And then very dull questions may be presented by them. Difficulty of a question is two-folded. Interesting and yet difficult. Uninteresting and yet simple. Uninteresting and yet simple is the most difficult and very painful thing. There are many such things. Thousands of Avadhanas, hundreds of Avadhanas. Many places we would have met the task, but our satisfaction may not be met with. We may not be satisfied completely. Such things are there. But this much I can say, when I perform avadhanams with rasikas and scholars as prichakas who know the grammar and niceties of avadhana. Many of my scholarly friends in Bengaluru and even outside Bengaluru, there are some people. There I find that. And such avadhanas are always a treat to me. And people like Lanka Krishnamurti or Sudhir Krishna Swami, R. Shankar, Vasuki, G.S. Raghavendra, Shashi Kiran, Ramchandra, Mahesh Adkoli, and then Ramakrishna Bejattaya and Mahesh Bhatt such people, there are many of course, such scholars, and also people who recite Kavyavachana from great epics like our Chandrasekhar Kedilaya or Professor T.S. Satyavati or even Shashidhar P. Shashidhar or Saroja Krishnamurti, who encouraged me a lot in my earlier days by organizing and even participating. Her father T.N. Padmanabhan, B.R. Prabhakar, many such people, they knew the capacity and limitations of this art. How much is capable of this art and where are its limitations, and knowing all these things with awareness they ask questions and they present. That's a really amazing thing. For example, Aprasthuta Prasangi, my friend Surya Prakash, perhaps the finest, and then Somashekar Sharma, such people, they know the art in and out of it, and that's a real treat always. And people like Korgi Shankarnadu Upadhyaya, who know, such people, when they come as prichakas, but beggars are not choosers, we cannot. It's like life.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful time and the valuable inputs you have given.
Thanks a lot. And it was a very memorable thing for me too. Dhanyavad.
Dear listeners, don't wait. Share this program with others who would love it too. Leave your thoughts and responses here, supports us, and keep encouraging our work. We also run focused certificate courses that explore the depth and richness of Natya Shastra and many other traditional aspects, treatises and practicality. And we have research-based books that you can learn from and grow with. Feel free to make use of them. And yes, we truly welcome your support and contributions. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful programs like this and strengthens the work of our institution. If your heart allows, please do come forward and support us financially. For more details, visit www.noopurabhramari.com and stay connected with us through our social media pages and groups. With your love, blessings and continued support, let's close this episode here. Namaskara.
भावानुभाव विभव प्रतिभातरङ्गम् सञ्चारि भाववनन प्रतिरोधरङ्गम् उद्बोधयो